Smile. Breathe. And just remember, it's too late to get out of it, so you might as well go on.
Do you ever get the feeling that people are incapable of not caring?
You know, I'm screwed up and average enough that I could write a song that'll live on forever. And then after that, it don't matter. I am the king of gay chickens.
No, seriously, what the fuck?
Honestly, you're in a memory in your subconscious.
Fuck! Seriously?
I don't know what you've been told, little lady, but the rest of us start at 9. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Good morning.
Hey, Benny! Looks to me like you're on the wrong side of the river!
Is it gonna be like this all the time?
You excited for the Chicken Run sequel? Dawn of the Nugget?
Yes, I am. I'm like apprehensive because the entire voice cast has changed.
I was going to say, pretty fucked up that Mel Gibson isn't in it. Don't you think? Kind of
What's he
fucked up.
done?
What's he
done that
Look,
he doesn't deserve to come back?
So now the rules are, just because you get caught on tape being horrendously anti-Semitic, now you can't be in claymation chicken movies. Sorry, missed that memo. Did I wake up and suddenly we're not in America anymore?
You can't do anything. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But yeah, it should be fun.
It is pretty funny, though, that they've replaced him with Zachary Levi. Out of the frying pan into the fire for the old Chicken Run franchise.
What has Zachary Levi done recently?
He was tweeting anti-vax stuff, and then which, you know, all God's children, neither here nor there. But then also when what's his one?
Shazam.
When Shazam 2 completely failed, he did
the world.
He didn't. He did not handle it well, and just kept doing the crazy eyes on Instagram while begging people to see his film. A truly bizarre choice. So, you know, not a rock solid alternative is what I would say.
No.
On the list of people also likely to maybe end up on tape saying something awful drunkenly to a police officer. Drunkenly, neither here nor there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Because he seems very on the edge, that poor guy.
Or was, to my knowledge, very religious a few years back.
Checks out. Checks out. I know this is hard for you because you've been a Levi head for a long time.
I do enjoy the work.
Ever since what's the name of that show he was in that time?
Chuck is a very good show. But also Tangled. He's a voice actor in Tangled.
No. So he's got chops.
Yeah.
He's got voice chops. He's spoken before.
People have recorded it. Safely.
Yeah. I loved Chicken Run.
Me too.
We watched that on VHS a lot.
I still quote it, and I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah, I don't like gravy, etc.
The apple pies bit is fantastic. And the fact that she calls him a great lobbocks, which is not a term you hear anywhere else, but Chicken Run.
The chickens are revolting.
The chickens are organised.
Great movie, and this might be good as well. It's just hilarious how much baggage is in the background of Chicken Run : Dawn of the Nugget.
What's so good about Chicken Run? It is the Great Escape.
Yeah.
So it's a wartime film about chickens.
Yeah.
How do you make a sequel to The Great Escape? A book based on a true story.
Yeah.
A movie based on a book based on a true story.
Yeah. I mean, to do that, you'd have to be based it on like World War III. Which, you only have to wait like another 10 years or so.
Oh, yeah.
And
to be patient.
You'll have plenty of material. Like
this is an espionage film. This is the Cold War.
This is Vietnam. That would be fantastic.
Chicken Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah. Although they're just looking for WMDs the whole time, never find them. We've been lied to. And we're chickens. Seen any good movies lately?
Not really. I've seen a few, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched some shit movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about those on the podcast.
Come in on that a little bit, I think.
Because if we talk about shit movies on the podcast, it means we are admitting to watching shit movies.
I guess this section is called "Have you seen any good movies lately?" Yeah, yeah. I saw Fresh.
Oh, did you like Fresh?
I did. Sebastian Stan and the main one, Daisy Edgar Jones.
There you go.
I was never going to get there.
She's in another movie I saw recently.
Yeah.
About
Did you?
that was where the crawdads sing, based on an international phenomenon book. Says it in the trailer.
Yeah. Have you seen Fresh?
No.
Oh, very good.
Cool.
I thought actually very good. I won't give it away because it's not a massive reveal what it is, but it's evident in the trailer that Sebastian Stan is nefarious.
Wants to eat people.
Well, I'll leave it there.
Oh, nice.
There are some details to the reveals of what's actually going on that are juicy.
Cool.
When you get to them, and then what her character does in the situation, I love. They just get really cold, and brutal, and make some smart choices.
Nice.
You
I
know,
watched a film.
I love when people in horror movies make smart choices,
and then still end up fucked.
If they still end up fucked, then that's fine.
Yeah, as long as they made the right decision.
At least they had a go. They weren't just turn all the lights off, take our shoes off, and run in separate directions.
One shoe.
One shoe, one high-heeled shoe.
We watched a film called Dark Harvest the other night.
Oh,
which
cool
is
name.
Great name. Based on a book, which I haven't read.
Okay.
But it's very clearly based on a book because the amount of gore and stupid shit, I'm like, yeah, you could ramp that up in a book and it would make sense. But in this, it's just
it's a bit
uncalled for.
It's a bit crazy to actually depict it on screen.
Yeah, it was set in the 50s and some unnamed town basically, it's not explained in the film, but clearly through subtext, they have, they give a yearly sacrifice to an unknown deity in order to have bountiful crops.
Love it.
And their sacrifice is done in the way of starving every teenage boy and then forcing them to hunt somebody on Halloween night. And the somebody is a monster. And the monster design's pretty good for a low budget-ish film. And they hunt this thing, eat it.
Right. And they want to hunt it because they're so hungry?
They want to hunt it because they're so hungry. And if they don't kill it before midnight, the bountiful harvest won't happen. And the guy who kills it gets a reward. And you see the quote-unquote twist coming from the get-go. But it's enjoyable and fun.
Do they just start eating each other?
No.
Oh, that's
but
what
they start killing each other.
That's what I'd do.
A lot of kids die.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does this happen every year?
Yeah.
If this is the one really seriously fucked up year, how are all the others so tame? And
yeah. They're this is weird. Most years this goes really smoothly. And all the kids make it. And then they get the monster. I never suspected all the kids would die in this scenario.
It's that we did it the safest possible way.
We got health and safety in.
Locked them in their bedrooms, let them swear at their parents, and starve them for 3 days, and then we just give them weapons, and push them out the front door.
Push them out into
make me
night.
proud.
Yeah. And say, well, and if they complain, we're like, well, do you want wheat or not? Do you like wheat? Because this is how we get wheat. This is all literally just for some crops.
We don't know how to farm.
Yeah.
This is how we do it. This is tradition.
We don't know how to farm, and it's too late to learn. It's actually too kind of embarrassing to admit now that we don't know.
We won all these awards, all these national awards for farming, but we don't actually know how to farm.
You want us to get that big turnip prize again? Get out there and kill the monster. So that's that movie. That sounds good. Oh, this is one.
It is pretty funny.
It's another one of those ones you get on Prime that I'm never going to see.
Oh, is it Monster? Or did you look up Dark Harvest?
Yeah, it's on Prime.
Made this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay. Still doing older movies. Watched Courage Under Fire, which is what is it?
It's not. That's what's his name.
It is. Yeah. Now, Courage Under Fire, Denzel.
That's the... Yeah.
Denzel and Meg Ryan, back when she did films, 1996, when he... It's kind of cool. It's based on. It's not based on anything, but it's about events that happened in like Operation Desert Storm.
It's not based on anything.
It's not based on
just
anything.
about something.
Yeah, it's very different. It's not like true events, but yeah, it's about things that happened during Desert Storm, and Denzel is basically he's in the military, but he's doing an investigation to figure out who they should give medals to. So there's this event that happened in Iraq, I guess, or
I've
Kuwait.
never seen Courage Under Fire.
I'd never seen it.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
And so it's sort of he's sort of like he's investigating an event, but you're not sure if he's investigating a crime or not. And yeah, very interesting. And then Matt Damon in the 1996 role as well. So sort of just
Not naked in a shower.
not naked in a shower. No,
Shame.
even though he's in the military.
He could
but
have.
Yeah,
He's
just,
used to it.
Just before he went full Damon. So that was good. And the other crazy one we watched was Crimson Tide. Denzel on a submarine.
Yep, Crimson Tide's a good film.
Yeah, Denzel versus Gene Hackman on a submarine. Do we nuke Russia or not?
Yeah.
And it's excellent. The whole movie is in the submarine. Once they get on, there's not a shot outside of the submarine, and it's a really interesting ethical procedural problem they have. It's not just like a Die Hard of like the challenges of like people
Do we
shooting
do
at
this
each
or
other.
do we not do that? We should yeah.
It's a genuinely difficult quandary of who is right, whether the good guy or the bad guy is right, and I love scenes where people are using when people it's kind of like a legal situation where there's like the chain of command and procedures, and they're like flipping procedures on each other and using like war of words to keep gaining control over each other, and eventually they pull out guns and stuff. But yeah, it's fantastic.
It is a much better submarine movie than other submarine movies I've seen.
Yeah.
There's a Gerard Butler one called
Already bad.
Hunter Killer.
Yep, there it is.
What a great name.
There it is.
It's got Gary Oldman in it.
Yeah,
You
I bet it
expect
does.
to be great.
Nah,
But it's horrible.
we don't seem to be able to do movies like that
It's a
anymore.
Hunter Killer.
Yeah.
That's the type of submarine.
Yeah, and I bet that movie, without ever having seen it, is just dumb as rocks.
Correct.
Thank you.
You are very correct, sir.
Yeah, because cinema is over. There's a really good video essay I should shout out by another one by Patrick H. Willems, who, I don't watch all of his stuff religiously, but this one was about what is it that's killing cinema. And it's a whole bunch of things. It's the Marvelization, it's streaming, it's... What else did he talk about? I didn't watch it that. I didn't pay attention to it that closely. But I think one of the points he made that I really latched onto, I was like, that is definitely true. People talk about the death of the movie star and how you don't have people having careers like Denzel did in the 90s or Keanu Reeves or any of those people.
Yeah.
And if you think about someone like Chris Hemsworth or any of the Marvel Chris's, really, they've only got Marvel, and they're like
They
Chris
do a
Evans.
couple of other things.
Yeah, like Chris Evans, everything he's done outside of it is just nothing.
Except Knives
It's
Out.
just but that's not a Chris Evans movie.
No. It's not a
That's
movie where you're going to watch Chris Evans.
As we should know, it's a Daniel Craig movie. Thank you very much. And if you think about it, Chris Hemsworth, he really tried to have one of those careers, because after he's done a little bit of Thor and stuff, he's done stuff like Rush, In the Heart of the Sea, 12 Strong, Bad Times at the El Royale.
Extraction.
Well, I think Extraction has been his compromise, because those other movies, they're standalone, interesting stories, either about historical figures or historical things, and you'd be like, oh yeah, great, a Chris
none of
Hemsworth
them are
movie.
bad.
I don't think any of them are bad either, but no one saw them. Some of them are abject failures.
Yeah, they're
And
not.
it's like-
It's because you're not going to see a Chris Hemsworth movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, fucking fine. And like when I go to see it, when I go downstairs to watch an Extraction movie, I'm not, even though I love Chris Hemsworth in it, I'm not like, oh great, a new Chris Hemsworth movie. It's a new Extraction movie. Like, what's the Extraction? What's going to be the really long shot that they do? It's the whiz bangs of the movie more than the actor themselves. And, you know, I don't think it's useful to say whether that's good or bad, but it's a shift.
I think there's also been a shift in the kinds of films people make. Whereas before social media existed, they were making movies that they thought would be good, and movies that, like, if everyone really, really likes Star Wars, we're going to make a couple of sci-fi movies, that sort of stuff. Whereas now that social media exists, everyone just makes teen dramas, or everything has to be about a specific political thing. Like this, it's very hard to have an interesting new concept and just make a movie that could be fun. Nobody makes fun movies anymore. They all have to be stupid. They all have to be like, they all have to mean things.
Right.
I want to have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
I don't know. I feel like we get...
enjoy watching movies. Like,
Yeah.
like little things that don't...
What are the dumb movies that you miss?
The dumb movies I miss are...
I mean, there's the entire romantic comedy genre.
They
We
don't-
could say that.
Not many of those get made.
That's
Not for
over.
the cinema anymore.
No, that's all
They
over.
make those... They're bogarted by Hallmark films now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or teen dramas,
Yeah.
which I don't really want to watch.
No.
You want to watch some... Like, I think...
Flubber.
Flubber is a fun movie. Flubber is a fun movie.
That's about a lot of stuff, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's about Flubber.
Yeah, but what is flubber? Metaphorically. Goo.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
I was literally going to say Indian in the cupboard.
If you watch Flubber closely, it actually has all the same narrative elements as Oppenheimer, if you watch it closely. But anyway, you were saying.
I just like fun.
Are you talking about kids' movies,
Not
though?
necessarily kids' movies, but kids' movies. Kids' movies these days are shit.
I think, well, I mean, we get dumb, like the Jurassic World movies. They're
I
dumb
think
as
that's
rocks, and they're bad.
They're just bad, though.
Yeah. You want good dumb movies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's not what we're
Back to
talking
the
about
Future
today.
is a good dumb movie. You don't have to be
Yeah.
smart to watch Back to the Future. It's a good movie. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves it. Maybe not Sam as much as he should.
Maybe
but
not.
that's okay. But it's a movie that
can't-
everybody loves.
I can't love everything.
And it doesn't have to mean anything. It's just like this
No.
guy goes back in time and tries to hit on his mum so that she'll slap him.
Yeah.
And so that his dad can bang his mum. That's all he's doing is
Yeah.
he gets in the way of her having pity sex.
Look,
And instead makes it not pity sex. And for some reason, the fact that it's not pity sex makes their lives in 30 years' time so good. They're rich now.
I mean, we've covered it. People who want to hear us talk about Back to the Future can go back.
To the future.
No.
Oh, okay. I watched The Fabelmans.
Oh, right.
I was bored in The Fabelmans.
Ah, good. Yeah.
I wanted
Called
to like
it.
The Fabelmans so much
Called it on the Fablemans.
because it's a movie about making movies, and I love movies.
Yeah.
But where a movie
I
about
may never see it.
one of the best movies about making movies I ever saw was Super 8, about
Mm-hmm.
kids making a movie, but also Alien. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's cool.
That's cool.
This is about a kid making movies. That's it. That's
no,
it.
No aliens.
No aliens, just family drama.
Yeah.
Kid makes movies. Bit of bullying. Kid makes movies. Movies
Yeah.
are cool.
Yeah.
Movies are cool.
It sounds like it's got a lot of now and then energy.
It does have. It is. It's very linear now
Yeah.
and then. It, without the ending happening.
It's
at the
it's
start.
just then. This movie's called Then.
Then and then.
What it was like then in my childhood. Yeah. Yeah. Coming of age stuff I don't connect with.
Did you ever watch
Very much
Stand
at
by Me as a kid?
No.
Did you watch it later in life or just not at all?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all. And I don't think it doesn't sound like I'm going to.
You don't have to.
You know what else I watched because it's Halloween and that I'd never seen? The Thing.
Which one?
The first one.
Okay.
The real one.
Have you seen the new? Like the new one's not bad.
No, I haven't seen it. I've read a bunch about
But
it.
you
and
had
seen-
never seen the thing.
I ain't never seen The Thing, man.
You ain't seen the thing.
I ain't, but I have now.
Thoughts?
Brilliant.
Fuck yeah.
Brilliant film.
Yeah, it is.
It's so fascinating how it was hated when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a complete bomb. It got John Carpenter fired from his other movies he was doing. It was like, this is shit. Fuck you, John.
It's so
We're in a recession. We don't want to feel this way. Yeah. But no, excellent. Some of the best monster effects I've ever seen, quite frankly.
All practical?
Just real bare, basic, elemental, and it's just fun how none of them come together as a team.
Yeah, there's no bro.
No one teams up.
bros out.
No two people team up out of like 15 people. Everyone is just punching on the whole time, and then they all die, and then it's credits. Spoiler alert for The Thing, I guess.
The thing that like weirds me out sometimes when I watch it is how once they realize what's going on, why the fuck would you ever split up? If you don't trust the guys and you like know that only a couple of them could be why would you go anywhere on your own?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or anywhere with someone else.
I think they do multiple times to be like, it's best if we split up. Motherfucker. My idea, if I'm ever in a Thing situation, especially if I'm in the North Pole,
Antarctica.
wherever that is, like Santa Claus.
South Pole.
I think if you just leave, won't it die?
Yes, because
it'll
explain that it froze.
It'll freeze again.
It will not die, just hibernate again for another 100 million years.
They're like,
if you just go out,
let's all just fuck off.
What's it going to do?
And then we'll just nuke it later. Anyway, that's just
they lose track of it.
Yeah, and I think the helicopter gets blown up or something quite early on.
When it becomes the dog is already insulated against the cold. I think the reason it froze was because it was inside its craft. Or just outside its craft before it had found anything.
But surely, like it needs food and stuff. So surely it'll just starve.
It is the best place on the planet to discover that kind of creature.
It was
and contain it.
Thank God it crashed there.
Yeah.
You watching Loki?
I've watched 3 episodes. What else?
I watched the fourth episode. I
haven't watched the most recent one. I'm having a good time.
Oh, fuck, man.
But it's not like
I want to like it.
I want it to be a movie.
It's just I don't think like my hopes for the MCU are getting lower, daily, and we've covered this to a great extent. And Loki is meant to be one of the hopes.
Yeah.
It's meant to be one of the things that like, well, at least we have that. And I don't think we do anymore. I don't think they've got any idea what they're doing. I don't think there's any cohesive vision for it. Everyone's just standing around having real repetitive conversations. All the characters are just really static. And this little Victor Timely fella, it's just annoying the shit out of me.
Have you watched the 4th episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have not yet.
Is not scary. His stutter just sounds weird and artificial.
Supposed to be scary yet.
Well, I'm sick of Kang not being scary. This is like the 4th or 5th or 9th Kang we've seen, and they've all just been nothing. And so you keep me like, but you wait. He's going to turn it on at some point. He really should have turned it on by now. He's only been. I don't know what's going on with him. There's no
film though.
Yeah, well, there's
Quantumania was.
He was okay in Quantumania.
He had moments of being like, you could be a king, you could be a bad guy.
He could, yeah,
but the movie itself was.
But he's not a Thanos.
No,
he's just another guy. He's just like a Malekith or something.
I have hopes for when they start, whatever the next chapter is after all of this nonsense. When Spider-Man has a first movie again, when his trilogy begins, and I think they kick off a new. This is a new saga now, or whatever we're doing.
No, we're in the saga.
Yeah.
We're in the multiverse saga.
But after the first Avengers movie, once they'd done their 3 little side quests and then started an Avengers movie, and then everything sort of made sense. Because the first couple of movies are great, but they're separate movies that then come together for Avengers. And after Avengers happened, and then every other movie sort of like came back to the main storyline then.
Yeah.
I kind of want that to be a thing, like once the first of their new Avengers movies happens. And it makes sense, it brings everybody together. Then their little side quests don't have to be so fucking weird. Everything sort of means something for a main storyline. Once Kang is part of the villain, like once Kang is a movie villain.
Once Kang fucking does something.
Yeah. But
yeah, no, I think
they've got us in a corner, and we're still going to watch Marvel shit. We're going to watch it because we have to watch it.
We do.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars. You got to watch Star Wars. So many people don't like new Star Wars, but you got to watch it.
I'll watch the movies,
Yeah.
and I'll watch another Andor,
Yeah.
but that's it.
And the next season of Mandalorian.
No,
Yep.
no, I
You
didn't.
will, though.
I didn't watch the last one.
Nah, it's cool. But you have to watch Star Wars to know what's going on in Star Wars.
Just and in the discourse. Yeah.
Because you can't be like,
I think
I've
the-
never seen The Rise of Skywalker. And just like, yeah, it fucking sucks, right?
Yeah, but isn't the problem at the moment that this latest phase of Marvel is like 300% the runtime of
Yeah,
previous
so much
phases,
longer and nothing's happened.
and nothing's happened.
It's because they're making shows.
Everyone's just
Like idiots.
Everyone's just fucking around.
If they make a movie, right?
Where is Shang-Chi?
A movie costs less than making a show.
Sometimes.
Takes a little less time. People watch them over and over again. So you're still going to watch this movie 4 times to take up the length of watching and tuning into a show.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to binge that. That's what they do. Why do they make shows? Why shows?
I think the whole thing has been an abject creative failure.
But they've dug themselves into a hole now. We have to make series. We can't stop.
No, they
How
could-
weird
no.
it would be in like 10 years' time once they make 5 years of just movies that they look back on the 3 or 4 year period of shows and they're like, yeah,
That was the Gas League season.
that was
yeah.
weird, guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the best case scenario at this point.
Because movies are better.
Yeah. I mean, or, they could just stop.
Could, but
We could
won't.
just stop.
They won't. That's...
And I'm more and more in favour of that every day. With everything. Less
But
stuff.
they've released titles for all these films.
Less stuff. We don't need...
Secret Wars.
I don't-
The Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, see, it all sounds
He's gonna
cool.
rule for a while.
I mean, Loki's other problem is the whole time you're watching it, you're like, oh, wonder if this guy's going to go to jail in real life.
Tom Hiddleston.
No, fucking Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Majors.
Majors, pardon me.
I don't know if he is. I think he got
Yeah,
acquitted and shit.
No, it's ongoing.
Still going? Okay, cool.
He's awaiting court dates.
Nice. Halfway through the season. Well, where are we coming?
Marvel's just like, well, we'll see.
They've purposely written the end of this season, so it's recasting Kang in show. Like, sorry, John.
They're like, we should have set up the fact that Kang sometimes looks different. Unfortunately, we've really heavily established the fact that he always looks exactly the same.
Yet Spider-Man looks different in every universe.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange doesn't, but Spider-Man does.
Why did we do this?
Why did they make Benedict Cumberbatch play all of the Doctor Stranges in Doctor Strange, and yet we'd already seen different Spider-Man, and
Good
now
question.
we've seen different other things?
Good question. Yeah, he could have been played by like Ben Whishaw in one of them.
That would have been
And
cool, actually.
Who else is angular?
Doesn't even have to be angular.
But I'd like him to be.
Okay.
If you're going to be a doctor wizard,
A doctor's, yeah.
you got to have that forehead going. Tilda Swinton? No, she's already in it.
Fassbender.
Yep, Fassbender.
He could be a strange. Well,
Definitely.
actually, I would have wanted one of them to be old.
Yeah.
Wise and
Jeremy
old.
Irons.
Oh, Jeremy Irons would be a great Doctor Strange. He
Can
would have been
you
Doctor Strange in
imagine?
the 90s.
Yeah. If you were to do one of those mid-journey AI generated Marvel in the 90s, Jeremy Irons is definitely
Oh, he'd be so cool. He'd be a great villain.
great actor, weird fucking guy. But then who isn't? Hello everyone, welcome to Exceptional Thieves, etc., etc. This is
I like it, etc., etc.
we're getting lower effort week by week on this fucking thing. It's a podcast where Isaac and I review and rewrite movies. I'm Sam.
I'm Isaac.
And this is the latest episode of our special series, Turns of Frase, where we are watching and reviewing the entire filmography of the one and only Brendan Fraser, the king of film,
In definite chronological order.
in definite chronological order, except,
This is like episode 67.
yeah,
But we're doing it like early.
yeah, no, we're doing it now because fuck it. The only rule is there are no rules, except for all the rules we make up and then change at will. And we've been doing it in strict chronological order, which is why I haven't seen The Whale. My thing, I'm a guy who hasn't seen The Whale.
that is your thing, yeah.
That's how you know me.
That's how we met, actually.
That's how we met. You were like, wanted guy who hasn't seen Whale. I was like, that's me. I'm the only one. You were like, brilliant. That's what all my social media handles are. But this But I wasn't going to wait fucking 3 years to see Killers of the Flower Moon, which is what it would take.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and having not
by the time we finish this podcast, they will be making Chicken Run 3 based on World War 3.
Yeah.
That's quite
with Brendan
likely.
Fraser in it, so we'll have to watch it.
Yeah, and the grid will be down, so no one will hear it.
Having watched it out of order, not waited 3 years to watch it.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy Killers of the Flower Moon?
Partly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
You enjoyed it partly?
Partly.
Yeah.
There are elements of this thing that are great, and then there is a whole hour 45.
That's a lot.
Hour, maybe 2.
Yeah.
That I was bored fucking shitless.
I was kind of bored as well. It's 3.5 hours long.
I'm all for true crime.
Love
And,
true
like,
crime.
I love facts, and
Yeah.
I think you can make a film that sort of gives pays respect to victims and tells a true story.
True crime doesn't have to be
You can still make it entertaining.
rankly exploitative.
It doesn't have to be 8 hours long. It's too long with no
It's too long.
score.
Well, it has a score.
Do you remember it?
Well, no.
Yeah, because it's just this. That's the score. It's just some breeze and some rain every now and then, and the sounds of cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too many cars.
It's an
for a
industrial
Western
score.
film.
Big focus on cars in
Massive
this film.
focus on cars. Everyone
I feel
loves them.
People keep talking about cars. They're pointing out cars. They're getting into
They're
cars.
calling them cars, not automobiles. They're cars.
Or roadsters.
It's a roadster.
They're getting into cars, getting out of cars, pulling up in cars, leaning on cars, walking around cars, getting shot in cars.
Watching cars drive a little bit faster than regular.
Watching, just being, asking someone else about someone they lent their car to, asking them what they told them about when they were going to borrow the car. I didn't really understand the purpose of that motif, if I'm being honest with you.
I will be honest. I did not watch the trailer, but seeing the posters, I'm like, this is cool. I didn't know about this sort of like story, I guess.
Yeah,
I like this era of the ending of the West.
Yeah.
And at the start of the industrial and like building of whatever America becomes.
Yeah.
But I was hoping for a little bit more horses.
Yeah, true.
My favorite part of the whole thing was he got given a cowboy hat. I'm like, yeah, now you're a cowboy. Horses are going to happen.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
He drives that fucking car.
No. We get cows.
There's
a bunch of cows. But I'll tell you what, Isaac, cows are not horses. And I've always said that.
Not.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my things. So this is the latest movie by a little chap called Martin Scorcese. Ever heard of him?
Little?
Yeah, I think he's quite short. But he's like 80 years old, so everyone's short then. Unless you're Jeremy Irons.
He's very old.
Yeah, he is like... And everyone's 80 in this. Yeah, he's 80. Robert De Niro is 80. Leonardo DiCaprio has the soul of an 80-year-old.
Famously has made some very good films.
Yeah, I realized...
Some very entertaining films.
Yeah.
Long but not boring films.
Look, and like 3 hours is par for the course for Scorsese. Like, it's very, very normal. I have realized after watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, I do... obviously he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Personally, I do sort of blow hot and cold on his movies. Mm-hmm. Like, he's made some of my favorite movies of all time.
The Departed.
The Aviator.
Cape Fear.
Don't think I've actually seen it.
Cool.
But yeah, The Departed, The Aviator, Gangs of New York would probably be, all three of those would probably be in my top 30.
See, Gangs of New York is
time.
a very surprising film to have in your top 30 because so many people did not like Gangs of New York.
Well, they're all wrong. I was
They
obsessed.
are all wrong. It is very fun.
I saw it when it came out. I was obsessed with it then, and I'm obsessed with it now. And they're 3-hour-long movies, but I think they have action and propulsive tension that keeps you really engaged in, I wonder what's going to happen next in this storyline.
Yeah. It doesn't let you just sit and wait.
Yeah.
Because they keep giving you things. Like,
Yeah.
The Departed is so stressful.
There's something to look at. There's zippity-zappity between characters. Like, I actually do like Silence, the one with the Catholic missionaries in Japan, Adam Driver.
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, and Andrew Garfield. Do actually like that. The
Is that a Scorsese film?
Yeah, that's the scores.
Dude, nice.
Yeah. I found The Irishman interminable and do not like it.
I haven't. I started and got bored and stopped because it was a streaming thing and I didn't want to watch the rest of it.
It took me like 3 sittings to get through it. Did nothing for me, I'm sorry. And I do not like The Wolf of Wall Street. Even though you got plenty of whiz-bangs and plenty of stuff happening, I actually think, for me, Wolf of Wall Street is a bad movie.
I've watched it once and will never watch it again.
Because when I rewatched it, I was like, yeah, none of this means anything. There's so many questions and tensions and things that should be being drawn out in this story, but the movie never actually really gets around to commenting on any of it or finishing any of its thoughts. I don't feel like any thoughts are finished, and I think that's what's kind of happening with this movie as well.
Yeah.
I like Taxi Driver. Don't like Casino, even though I know that's I found Casino just a little bit boring again.
Taxi Driver is not boring.
Goodfellas is good.
Goodfellas is good.
I'm happy to say that.
Really
so I know there's pretty much everyone, this will be one of these will be their favorite movies, and I realized like, yeah, I love some of these more than life itself, and some of them I cannot watch. So that's cool in a way. He's out there doing stuff and he's trying stuff.
I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again.
I can't imagine myself watching it again, to be honest with you, which is insane because it's such an incredible story.
It is a very.
So full spoilers for Killers of the Flower Moon, everybody.
If you haven't seen it,
you should go see it.
You should see it.
Just out of obligation. If nothing else, you should know about this time in history and what happened here.
Because it's kind of fucked. Because it's proper fucked.
You reckon?
Yeah.
You know.
The thing about history. A lot of history.
Yeah.
Famously.
Yeah.
Historically.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked.
It is. Yeah. I'll tell you what. The thing about mass sort of race-based murder is that it's kind of fucked.
It's so fucked.
You know what I mean? Like, when I was watching, I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be fun, but actually it's kind of fun.
So yeah, know about the story.
Because, so I didn't know, I hadn't looked up anything about it. I'd seen the trailer, but I had no idea what the story was going to be. I just knew sort of, what it tells you in the trailer of there's some sort of mystery going on. But
did you get that mystery in the film?
But there isn't a mystery in the film.
No.
Look, we could go through the plot.
There's no twists.
There's no twists and turns.
There are twists in The Departed.
Yeah.
It's fiction, though.
And look, I think there's the response people would have to some of the stuff we're saying. Like, I think the debate that will be happening is, well, this is a very real, very serious story that happened. The very recent descendants of which are still around and were interviewed for the book, and the consequences of what happened here are very real. Fucking Hale and Ernest Burkhart died in the 80s, which is kind of fucked.
It's recent.
Pretty recent. Robert De Niro's character in this film could have watched The Thing. Think about that.
Probably didn't.
Because
it came out and nobody liked it.
But if he wanted to, he could have got The Thing on VHS and watched it. And there's a degree to which, because I was watching some interviews with the author of the book, and he described how when he was writing it, there's ways in which he wanted it to be quite sort of in a documentary fashion, where he didn't want to sensationalize, to amp up any of the drama that was already there on the page in terms of the telling of the story, and really just present the facts as they occurred. And I think what we would be asking for with this kind of a story is not to change any of the events or turn it into a more of a rote Hollywood story. but tell exactly what happens in this movie, but with some shifts in POV and in the way you present information, so that the information is revealed to us in a way that's a bit more engaging.
Yeah.
Instead, a lot of the time, because you're following what the killers are doing from the killer's perspective, but with just chunks left out of what they've done and thought and said.
From their POV.
That then gets filled in later on. So then I think we kind of end up with no POV character in it. Mm. The POV character, for my money, should be Molly.
Yep.
Because she's the one who has the realizations about what's going on. But instead our POV is basically Ernest Burkhart, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah. But we get a really sort of choppy vision of what he is seeing and experiencing.
Yeah, he's our POV character, but we do not. We are never told his actual point of view. We don't. We don't know what he knows or what he doesn't know. Yeah. We don't know how he feels about any of this.
I've no idea what he's thinking at any point. So I'm fundamentally alienated from the person I'm meant to be following. Yeah. Like,
if he was, because he is a horrible person.
Yeah.
And if he is that, and the film is made to make us sort of like root for him, that would be entertaining.
Yeah,
if it's his POV and we understand his wants, his needs, the people that are making him do stuff, his maybe apprehension to do things, but he just does stuff.
Have him
and we don't. Yeah, it is.
It's just doing stuff like having someone be your main character in your story. You kind of identify with. You know, you're rolling along with this guy like, okay, we're back from war. Okay, he's trying to get his life together. Okay, he's being a cab driver. That sucks. We want to try and make some money. Oh, he likes this girl. He's going to ask her out. Oh, is his uncle good guy or not? I'm not sure. And then we find ourselves participating in some of the most horrifying crimes of all time.
Yeah.
Then that's an evolution that you can go through. But instead, he's sort of held at arm's length in this strange way. Also, I just have a fundamental problem with the characterization of Ernest Burkhart, because he's just a fucking moron. And maybe he was. Maybe that's completely accurate, sure. But I just kind of don't find that very interesting.
If he's a moron, have him be a moron, but more of a bumbling guy. He has to sort of have any sort of understanding about how his actions affect other people.
It kind of robs him of complexity because he's not complex. I don't feel like he's torn between two things. I think he's barely piecing together what's going on most of the time, and like
I think the only thing we know about him, truthfully, from the film and the portrayal is that he falls in love with Molly. It is a love. It's a love.
Which I think is a bit of a choice on the filmmaker's part. Like, I think historically,
it's just a means to an end.
Yeah, like I think from my very brief overview of reading the historical record and looking at other interviews and stuff, it is interesting because it seems like he did look after her with her diabetes, and he did do a bunch of things that made him seem not like completely cold and calculating towards her, but then also obviously
murdered all of her family.
Murdered her family, as it were.
And poisoned. When he's given the poison, he just starts doing that. Just starts poisoning her. Yeah. No questions, no qualms. It's just like, okay, I got told to do this. This is what I do now.
But does he think he's poisoning her to kill her? Or does he think because he says I'm slowing her down. Slow her down. Does he think he's just giving her some sedation so she doesn't cause too many problems? Because those are two awful but very different things.
But even at that point, when he says, "Okay, I'm just slowing her down," right? We're like, okay, so that's what he believes, but nobody else is shown to know the difference.
Yeah,
like, to know that. No way we're evil. Like in a fictional film, if someone was trying to manipulate this person to poison his wife, just like, it's okay, buddy, it's okay. It's just going to slow her down a little bit. Yeah. She'll be fine. It'll be okay. And then you just get a shot of somebody going.
they give
dickhead.
They give a knowing glance to one another.
Something.
There was no knowing glance at any point. Yeah, I mean, we were joking last time that. now Leonardo DiCaprio, it's the greatest challenge of his career. He's playing ugly. He's like, what if I was ugly this time? What if I play ugly now? But he's not playing ugly. He's playing stupid.
It's a different challenge.
Which is a different challenge.
Seemingly easy.
What if I were to play a stupid man? And I just don't think he's... I do not like the underbite.
The whole film underbite?
Yeah, because I just feel like I can see Leonardo DiCaprio pushing his jaw forward the whole time. It looks uncomfortable and strenuous, and so it just kind of broke me out of it the whole time. I'm watching Leonardo DiCaprio do acting. I'm like, can you just have your face and just act with your face instead of, it's kind of like that sort of that joke cliche of someone who's an actor who's like, I did King Lear, but I played him with a limp. I did a limp the whole time. It was an amazing creative choice. No one could get over it. I'm like, it's not anything. It's just an underbite, and it's distracting, frankly. Yeah. He's just like an idiot. So,
but like him being an idiot, we know like if he is an idiot, his brother is clearly not. But we don't get to know about the horrific thing that the horrific, like the horrible person that his brother is. Because he's also just kept in the fucking doorway the whole movie.
Brian / Byron, he is just standing there staring at the characters the whole movie. And he's like a monster as well, as is revealed at the end.
Like just keeps killing people all the time.
But never says or does anything. I think Leonardo DiCaprio... And let's talk about Robert De Niro separately. Let's cover Leonardo DiCaprio. Let's do it this way. This is different for us because I don't think we need to go through the plot.
I don't think it's too long.
It's just
it's
bits of the plot will come up as we go. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is too old for this role. Ernest Burkhart is meant to be 19 when he comes back from the war, and I know about 10 years pass in the story, but I just think he's too old, and he's too. Evan Peters. I think because
I don't want him to have to do this sort of role all the time. I don't want him to have to do
play another monster.
Yeah, because he just seems like a good actor, and I want him to have a good time.
Yeah,
but he's
like, need let him have some
would
fun.
Have been perfect for this. Yeah. Age appropriate, even though he's like mid-30s.
Yeah,
physically he looks age appropriate to be just after the war.
Yeah, because this character is because he's Leonardo DiCaprio. Lest we forget who's
famously like 68, who knows?
Yeah, famously 68-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio. The fact that he's this dumb is just way more noticeable. If you've got someone who's in their 20s, then there's a degree of naivety.
Yes.
They can be naive to the world. They don't understand how things work.
You don't expect Leo to be naive.
Yeah, but when 48-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio gets off the train back from the war... Like
sticking his jaw out,
looking
at the world. Never seen a car before.
He knows everything he's going to know, at that point. So I think that's
because when at the start of the film, because it's Leonardo DiCaprio. Until a little while, I didn't realize that he was supposed to just be a kid.
Yeah,
other people served in the war, sure. So this guy's obviously been in the army for a little while.
He got called up. He's later in life. And
he's obviously he was a school teacher or something.
Yeah.
He had a job.
Exactly.
And then went to war.
So
now he's come home.
You're imagining this whole life he's had before the war as well.
And there wasn't. It was just a childhood.
No. Yeah, just
childhood.
And now little 19-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio gets off the train and goes to see his uncle. And
actual 19-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio would have been perfect.
Would have been
role.
perfect. And
Gangs of New York, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Gangs of New York, early 2000s, Leonardo DiCaprio would have played very differently, and I think much better. And I think Martin Scorcese, bless his heart, just needs to acknowledge the passage of time that has occurred and work with some different actors, mate.
Leo could have been Robert De Niro's character.
Yes, actually, because I think, we'll talk about Robert De Niro's performance, but I think, Robert De Niro is too old because he's very good. He's Robert De Niro. He's doing a good accent and everything. He's doing proper acting. He's not phoning it in, but he's visibly on screen, sort of weaker old man. Like whenever he walks around, you're like, okay, a strong gust of wind's going to take this guy out. So
Because he's proper old.
So he can be sinister, but he's not a crime lord.
No.
Whereas I think you need someone with a little, even though, I mean, Hale as a character seems like someone who was very hands off, and meek and sort of wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing. But yeah, like DiCaprio's age to him works, but they're both about 20 years above where they need to be.
Yeah.
I don't understand what Ernest's motivations are throughout this. He keeps saying that he likes money.
And he says he likes girls.
He likes money and girls, but he falls in love with one girl and stays with her his whole life, and as far as we can see, is like in a perverse way devoted to her.
And also, as far as we can see, he actually does work. Like they bought a farm and they attempted to make sheep work.
Yeah,
and like things. He's not just like he's not shown to be like what's his face who marries two of the sisters and then just spends their money on stuff.
Yeah, Ernest is never shown. Ernest is never shown
to be that,
to be motivated by Molly's money. No. Like Hale keeps bringing it up, like, by the way, this is going to be great for us, but he just has this sort of blank, dumbfounded expression the whole time, like, yeah, I guess. But he just likes Molly, but they just says a few times, I'll love money. But I never see him enjoying having money. I never see him hating being poor. I never see him having fear of becoming poor again. Like, they're in a relatively nice house, but aren't all these people, these are the Osage are the richest people on the planet at this point.
Yep.
So you never see him, I don't know, becoming arrogant because of his wealth and like luxuriating in it.
When it was shown to him, to have him look down on people.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, like, was he raised poor and so he's ashamed of his roots or something and blah, blah, just something like that. I didn't understand why he was so committed to this campaign of this reign of terror, as it was called at the time. And you also don't need to have him caring about money, because you would also explain that by the fact that his uncle Hale exerts total control over him through psychological power. But I didn't really see that or understand that. No. Why this uncle would have this kind of power, and you don't ever see him really exert it. Like, you see him kind of convincing him of stuff and trying to persuade him.
He spanks him once.
And yeah, the only time Hale ever like brings the hammer down is when he fucking paddles him in a Freemason temple. What kind of Looney Tunes ass shit is this? That came out of nowhere. I did not get the vibe that this boom town, which is all going to be gone in a couple of decades when the oil dries up, had a Freemason vibe to it. Like, you've built a Freemason, like, ceramically tiled lodge in this town? Maybe you did, but that's not the picture of the town you've given me.
No.
You give me the impression that this town sprung up in the last, like, few years after they struck oil.
And as it's a temporary town, like a gold mining town. They literally got this. We're doing this while we can. We'll make as much money while we can.
Yeah, so...
And then, like all the other times we do this, we'll move on.
Yeah. And if Ernest is the protagonist, he's a very passive protagonist.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything. Even when the cops show up at the end, he's just being blown side to side. I don't know what's going through his head. He's just subject to the whims of whatever people around him are doing. And that can be your protagonist.
It can be, but we should see what he feels.
Yeah.
And we don't.
I don't know what he thinks is happening.
And we feel even, Molly. We don't know what she feels about a lot of stuff.
Let's talk about Molly.
Because she doesn't say a lot of stuff.
No. So this is the Molly Kyle, played by Lily Gladstone. Fantastic performance. Mm-hmm. A fascinating character. Obviously the tragic core of the whole story. I felt like she is introduced in the film as a very smart and powerful character.
Yeah.
Like, she seems very self-possessed. She's seeing straight through Ernest.
Yeah, she seems confident.
She's confident. I feel like...
completely able to live on her own.
Yeah, and they're in this difficult situation, which I don't think they made enough of in the movie, where the Native Americans would get their millions of dollars, but the government was able to insert this system where they needed white guardians for them to access their money, and so white people had to approve them accessing it, and so they still had access to it, but it was just a way for people to skim money off and redivert money and blah, blah. And that's the story of the whole thing is white people, and like the white mainstream society, finding different ways to either skim, scam, or rob money from these absurdly rich, a small group of people. And like you see her going into the bank and asking for her money, and she says, Molly Kyle incompetent. Like, they just say that because that's like a label that acknowledging that you're quote unquote not competent to access the money. But she seems like the kind of person who's gonna navigate this situation, who knows the writing on the wall and can get what she wants.
Yeah, she's portrayed and given to us as someone who understands the predicament she's in, but will know how to get around that.
She's going to figure it out. Yeah. She sees straight through Ernest immediately, and initially like there's absolutely no way there's going to be anything between these two, but then you kind of get it there when Ernest has Ernest is kind of genuine in his affections for her. And so you could kind of, there is some chemistry there, and it does seem kind of real. The way she's presented throughout the rest of the story, though,
as soon as they get married,
I found increasingly inexplicable. And she starts to seem sort of absurdly credulous. The way the story is presented to us, I'm like, are you seriously not picking up on what's going on here? Are you literally? I feel like, and that could be believable. Like you could like.
Yeah,
there's
in order to make it believable that she doesn't like pick up on the subtleties or like suspect stuff, is to make him more evil.
I think he needs to be more evil, more adept at manipulating her.
Yeah, to show him manipulate. When we don't see him manipulate. We just see him say stuff and him be real sincere about it.
Yeah,
and he means everything.
Yeah,
because he's an idiot.
Yeah, and she's really presented as the kind of person who should have figured out sooner what was going on, and like it's completely believable that someone would not. But I think that's one of the ways in which this feels like it should have played more like a horror movie.
If it was her POV and she has this loving husband who spends a lot of time with his uncle, that's fine. And every now and then she'll like leave her sister's house and something fucking horrible will happen there.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what's going on, and he supports her through all of this. And then at the end, it turns out that he's one of these people doing these horrible things to her family.
Yeah.
That's not changing the storyline at all. That's just showing it from her POV.
Yeah, and that's what it must have been like for her.
Yeah.
And look, there must be answers to these questions, but I just couldn't get over. I'm like, well, what is she thinking? Especially towards the end, when Ernest has admitted to all this stuff that's gone on. It's in court. They're like in between court dates. And he's back in the house.
Yeah. And
they're having breakfast together again. I'm like, Molly, what are you...
That's him.
What are you hoping... Like she gives him a hug. It's like, I'll take you home now. Like, she must have some version of events in her head where he has a diminished responsibility.
Well, I think it's
but it's
because
not
he's
made
not
clear.
said to have actually done the killing. But it's not made... We're not told that that's what she says. That's her point of view. Like... Yeah, maybe we're not showing him doing any killing or anything like that through the film, and maybe he didn't. He just set it up. But we're also not told that he's been manipulated.
Yeah,
he's just doing stuff.
Yeah.
So,
like, as far as I could tell, this is now a woman who knows that this guy has conspired in the murder of her family. But then they're back living. Like, does she? And you just need to put a reason in there. Like, she thinks this is her only viable option. Like. getting divorced, would it in some way be worse
or have
financially
them
or
both
something?
be portrayed as the young lovers that they are, and therefore it'd be much more easier to watch them and be like, okay, they can't be without each other.
Yeah.
And she's going to have to look past all of this horrible stuff
Yeah.
that he's done.
Or have her be wanting and hoping to reach back to the version of him that he used to be and that she used to see him as. But that only works if the character has any kind of arc or transformation. And
Both
I think
characters.
and I think that's, I mean, maybe I'm just watching films wrong, but I don't feel like Ernest, Molly, or Hale change at all across the course of this 3.5 hour movie.
I think Molly changes, but that's only because she gets sick and then gets sicker, and we don't get to see her do anything.
I feel
She
like
just goes to bed.
Molly gets more sort of desperate and aggrieved, but like,
But that's just because her family's dying. She doesn't grow as a person on the inside. Like, she doesn't deal with that.
yeah, like just like the first scene when she's in his cab, she seems to me like the kind of person who knows that sometimes in life people conspire to murder people to inherit their money. You know, she seems like the kind of person that would have that degree of awareness. Like, I should probably be careful in case people start killing us to inherit our money.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't feel like she had anywhere to go. Like, show like, if he is actually 19, have her be very young, which she must have been as well. And so she is somewhat naive as well.
Yeah.
And then she grows up to become. So by the end, she is that woman at the start of the world is a brutal place and I need to be ready for it.
Cast to have her be age appropriate for 48-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio, though.
Yeah, I think that's part of the
Because you
problem.
can't cast an age appropriate her and 48-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio, even though in the real world,
How
that's
old
how
is
he
she?
lives his life.
Yeah. Yeah. She's 37. So, yeah.
If they were both young 20s playing early 20s characters,
Yeah.
living their lives into the 30s, where obviously over that 10-year period, all this shit would have happened.
Yeah. And then 10 years later, she keeps holding on to hope for the young boy she fell in love with. But
Still
he's
played
been
by the same two people.
but he's been turned into a monster by greed and time and the malign influence of William Hale
money.
and his love of money. Yeah.
His famous love of
But
money.
it just didn't hit. Didn't hit for me. Sorry, Martin Scorcese.
Sorry, everybody who says it's amazing and has seen it so many times.
For me, it didn't hit.
And I feel a little guilty about it. Like, I wanted it to be, like, really, really good.
Yeah.
I wanted to love it.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with The Revenant. The movie he won his Oscar for.
Mm-hmm.
That was just 2 hours of grunting.
I like The Revenant
I like it more than I liked this.
because
horses.
there's horses. Stuff does happen in it. I think the fact that it doesn't end with the Native Americans attacking the town that he finally gets to, which is seemingly set up the entire movie, I will never get over.
Yeah.
But I think I like The Revenant, but I know what you mean. Robert De Niro
Old Robbie D.
as William Hale.
Bob.
Bobby De Niro.
You got to see Cape Fear, man. It's great.
I will.
recommend.
I'm pretty sure. I'm going from one to the next one because they keep getting suggested by
Cool.
Disney Plus or whatever. So I'm pretty sure I've seen Cape Fear on there.
Too old.
Too old.
But the right age to be a Freemason that spanks a man.
He's definitely
He's the right age to be a man who spanks another man.
Yeah, he's the only. Yeah, you need to be a certain age to be bringing that non-sexual
You're not gonna
spanking
get, like,
energy.
a late 30s dude spanking another dude in a Freemason's lodge because he
No,
embarrassed them.
not clothed.
No.
Tell you that much.
You get an old man to spank a younger man. That's how that works.
I think
That's natural.
that's how it goes in the Bible. I think we just needed more of Hale being in like mob boss mode. Like he's functionally a crime lord at this point, and he's and he is that interesting thing of a wolf in sheep's clothing, where he's hiding in plain sight. But I felt when he first comes on screen, he has his first conversation with Ernest, and I didn't realize, like, who is this guy? What's his deal? He just seems like a little old man out on a cattle farm.
Yeah.
You know. And in one way that is what he was meant to be. It's only when suddenly at the end there's a scene of him paying for a school or something. I was like, oh, he's kind of a public figure as well.
Yeah.
I didn't get that sense the whole film, that he's like a benefactor for the town.
There is not enough to say that.
Yeah.
Like,
and
if
he very
you
much
did the whole
was.
thing showing him be the philanthropist.
Yeah.
And building the town and helping everybody. But
Yeah.
like, they all know him by name. But our point of view of older towns, everybody knows everybody by name.
Yeah.
That's how that worked.
And it's an important part of the sort of macabre nature of what he did, that he always positioned himself as a friend of the Osage, and I'm actually a great ally for these people whilst, murdering so many. But for me watching this film, he felt like a little old man off on a cattle farm.
Yeah.
He's only ever shown being in this house. I didn't really get a sense of what the architecture was around him. Like, what are his concerns? Does he have debts? Is there any authority outside of him that he's worried? What's his relationship to other crime people?
Presumably he has quite an extensive amount of money already. Why is he now driven to murder these people to more of it? Like, why does he need the more money?
Yeah, why is he doing this? And why does he think
if he is the wealthy philanthropist who builds the town and gives people everything they need and they all love him, why does he need more money? What drives him to murder them?
Yeah,
we're not shown that at all.
Yeah, like let's dip into that a little bit, and just his life. Like, there's a scene like halfway through, they're having dinner at the house, and there's two women sit on the side of the table. I was like, who the fuck are these people? Is one of them his wife?
See, I didn't know.
Is one of them his wife?
And the other one's a daughter.
And there's another just woman.
Yeah.
And they're not really introduced. They're sort of played as family members. But it was weirdly, like, thinly drawn, like what this world is actually like.
In several earlier scenes at times.
Yeah, they're in a few scenes, but I realized at a certain point, like, I've no idea what this family structure is, and I just would have liked some kind of evolution to his character. Like, when Ernest and Hale, their final conversation in the jail cells, where he's like, I'm taking the deal.
Could you
that he's
imagine
like,
them just putting next to each other?
What
the fuck?
That's just like, that's
across
just suddenly
the whole...
revealed. There's no scene there. There's no scene of them talking to each other. Like, they're in cells next to each other, and the camera just pans to it. Oh yeah, by the way, they're in jail cells 4 feet apart. That's not
have been for a while.
That's
clearly.
not a dramatic moment at all. Yeah, like that whole, when it's all going down, we never see Hale realize that Ernest is testifying against him. We never see Hale really react to any of this stuff. Hale is completely equanimous the entire time. And their final conversation, when he's like, no, don't take the deal, they won't honor it, it's as the exact same tenor as their first conversation.
Yeah, he's not threatening at all. He's just
Ernest doesn't change.
Having a chat.
Ernest never sees the light and realizes that, you are actually a completely evil influence that I have been, that's destroyed my life by involving me in this stuff. He never, he's just like, no, I'm gonna, no, bye. And then the film's over. And so everyone is, and maybe that is what really happened, but it's just really static. And I think that's why it starts to get boring. Yeah.
I think the best acting scene, the most realistic acting scene that DiCaprio does is when he finds out that his child has died and he has the breakdown. That is the breakdown of a younger man finding out that one of his children is dead.
Yeah, that was great.
Because that is a guy who doesn't relate to that point of view is the only thing that suggests that he doesn't know what was going on, like he is an innocent person who's been removed from death and has just been like dragged along, but the rest of the movie does not point towards that at all.
I feel like the child, like, and that is what happened. Their child died during this trial period. So, you know, obviously for those individuals, an incredibly significant event. The way it occurs in this film, it has, I would say, no narrative significance.
No.
Because I remember...
It really doesn't make him change his mind about...
Yeah, that's when I was at the point I was like, because we're in the last 45 minutes or whatever. And I remember thinking like, we've got to go do the funeral now. And then we have to go do it. Like that whole funeral scene, nothing comes of that. It's just more silent staring at each other. There's just lots of portentous staring. There's no knowing glances. Not enough knowing glances. And too many portentous stares for my money in this story. And yeah, I want, like, and it doesn't have to be that like big mask off moment of he reveals himself, but there were clearly depths to this man, meaning Hale.
Yeah.
That were not revealed to the public. That were beneath his public persona.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to spend 3.5 fucking hours with him,
you want to see. We want to get that depth.
I want
just have a reveal.
Yeah.
Have him fucking
like even at like
become terrifying.
Like I mean,
the fact that also when Ernest is the first time when he's going to testify, and then the group of people are basically, "Hey mate, don't do that. That would be stupid." Hale's not even in that room. The guy in charge of everybody, he's not there going, "Do not testify against me."
Yeah, he never. So all these other people are clearly under Hale's influence.
Yeah,
but those two things never get joined up on screen. It's just kind of people appearing out of the shadows.
Yeah, and someone just appears out of nowhere. And
well, we will get to it. Yeah,
but all of these people who are clearly just part of Hale's world. And his underlings just have a chat at Ernest and be like, "Oi, you shouldn't do that. Everything will be fine. Just don't fucking dob us in." But Hale's not there to be the ringleader, to be the lord.
Yeah,
over his domain.
And there's just so many opportunities for them to have that conversation. I think the obvious reference point for these two, the way they've been written, is Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And Walter White is expertly just calibrating himself at all times with Jesse Pinkman to get him to do sometimes like objectively awful things.
Yeah.
And in that story, the crimes of Jesse Pinkman are arguably less objectively sinister and evil than what Ernest Burkhardt does. But you're watching you end up rooting for someone even while they are participating in these different crimes.
Yeah.
And the thrill of the Walter White character is
because you're shown
he just has so many dimensions. Yeah. He has so many sides and dimensions to him, and he will use different ones sometimes intentionally.
You get to see his public face with the family, but you also get to see.
And sometimes he will lose control and the situation will get on top of him, and you start to see these, the snarling demon that rests at the heart of that person. And I felt like that all just got left off screen.
Yeah. And De Niro is very, very capable of being that.
Yeah. This is, multiple people have said this is an interestingly different role for him to a lot of his other characters that are often more charismatic and loud and blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't need to turn into one of those people. I just want some
no one in this movie is charismatic and loud.
No. And that's okay.
A couple of people are loud.
I will get to it.
But charisma is a little...
Yeah. The whole thing was so restrained in a way that I didn't feel like it needed to be. There's one scene when Molly starts refusing the insulin and Ernest just fucking loses it with her.
Yeah.
And he's just so angry. And at this point, I think as far as Ernest is aware, this is just insulin.
Yeah,
it's
it's
real
medicine
insulin that is
to
going to
help
help.
his wife.
And I actually wasn't sure why she was refusing it at that point. Whether she was, because she didn't have any sense it might be poisoned.
That scene happens just as they started the insulin, and so like it's a new medicine, and she's like
just sort of wary in general.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, this is fucking real." Like,
and he's just like,
"You're gonna die."
Yeah, and he says awful racist things to her.
Yeah,
but that scene to me was like an emotional breath of fresh air because I felt like there's just so much portentous staring. Like finally, someone
says something.
Someone is just saying something like because Molly just does staring. She's very stoic the whole time. Apart from in some moments of intense grief,
like that suits the character as well to be stoic and staring.
But like,
and it should force more talking and more weakness and more emotion from her partner.
But it just made me end up thinking like, well, what do you think about all this? Like, don't you have something to say to Ernest? You know,
just yelled at you.
And in a way, it's powerful to not. Like at the end when she's like, "What was in the shots?" and he was like, "Oh, it's just insulin," and she just leaves.
Yeah.
Like that's a power move in its own way. It's not even worth saying anything more to you. Can't believe she even went in to ask him. To be honest, I'm like, what are you hoping for?
If he admits it, what do you do then? She's like, another thing you've admitted. I love you so much.
I was poisoning you so we could kill you. Like, well, you know what? You were honest about it.
I was just slowing you down.
I was just slowing you down.
We've seen so much of how fast you are.
You know how
it's just slowed you down.
You know how it's bad to be fast? You know that thing?
That's why we have cars. You can go slow. Just slowing you down, you know? Jesse Plemons, fantastic.
Yeah, so
actually let's
talk about that next.
The US Marshal, the FBI, the dudes, fucking cool.
So yeah, again,
that
so many missed
team
opportunities.
Of dudes were so cool.
And the Native American undercover guy.
He gets there a couple of days early.
Apparently there were multiple undercover people, and apparently that was the original version of this movie when Martin Scorcese and like Leonardo DiCaprio were talking it through. The original version, and it's the more obvious version, is
you make a detective movie.
It's a detective movie about the FBI agents coming in to figure out what the fuck
and
is going on here.
meeting this wonderful guy named Hale who helps them and supports the town, and everybody loves him.
Yeah,
and you meet this doting husband and his wife.
And you'd have all your obvious suspects like Blackie and the other like low-level criminals, and then you eventually realize, it's the whole town, basically.
Yeah.
That might have been a better movie, which sounds sounds shallow to say.
It does, but it would still tell the story and do give respect to the victims and like do the story.
Yeah, like, I don't think there's
honor.
Everything that comes before that, which is most of the movie, I'm not sure because the characters that are at the heart of it are static and don't really make sense to me as people.
Yeah.
Like they're just their dynamic is off in some sort of fundamental ways. You might as well just start.
You could have an act of like stuff happening, and that act you could see a loving husband and his young wife and her family are getting killed, and you can see the dude who supports the whole town, and they're all trying to find who's killing these people. Then the detectives arrive.
Yeah.
Then this investigation starts.
Yeah.
And then you realize that all of these people are mentally fucking evil.
Yeah. Like this story, it's basically like a race horror movie.
Yeah.
Like I been watching some stuff about, like sort of the new race horror genre that's kind of, it's been around for a long time, but like since Get Out, everyone's been trying to copy Get Out. I'm like, this really sits in Get Out territory, except it's completely true. I think, but I felt I mean, I was just on the back foot with the whole thing by this point, but like it's such a fucking relief when the detectives do show up, when the feds show up. You think, okay, right, someone's doing something.
Someone's gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
Like it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, comeuppance will happen. We'll discover what the crimes were.
But that just didn't feel as sort of dynamic and tense as it should have been.
I think
either
because
they just sort of
was so stoic and like
yeah.
his entire thing is like gentle, and he's like there, and
Yeah.
that would mean so much more if everyone else was super emotional and
Yeah,
like
but because
heightened and crazy.
everyone's
if he was
stoic.
just the
Yeah. I love Jesse Plemons.
Okay.
I've been pro Plemons since Breaking Bad. It's been great to see him getting work. But I also think that Plemons is maybe getting a little too much play.
he's used a
Because
lot.
he has a blankness that is very good and very subtle,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's not what I would have put in that.
You don't
role.
want him for you want Timothy Oliphant to be.
It's exactly what I was going to. You want Timothy Oliphant or Brendan Fraser, frankly. I just like give us a pointy, unusual person who's going to come in and disrupt things. But because if you're going to have a blank stoic guy who's sort of lulling people into false sense of security, basically like, oh yeah, fine, I'll come back on Friday, then that needs to be your slow burn that you have a whole movie to do where he slowly is just like tightening the vice around this town, and then he gets everyone sort of Poirot style. But with like, this is the climax of the movie. We need someone to come in and fucking just start causing noise.
Could have been played by current aged Leonardo DiCaprio.
Current age Leonardo DiCaprio would have been great for that. And I think the other observation I had when the FBI finally shot, because the FBI like it's like the book The Killers of the Flower Moon, the subtitle of it is it's blah 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 and the formation of the FBI. Like, it's the fact that the FBI has just been invented. That's the only reason this is happening, because suddenly there's a higher level of law enforcement that's somewhat more organized that can come in and, in this instance, not that it was going to be a big habit for the FBI, overcome the corruption that is happening among the local police force and bring about justice. There's lots of tensions at play in the story that I think are kind of undigested and unaddressed. Like the fact that Hale, he's basically been operating on like a medieval paradigm. Like Oklahoma was sort of, I've learned, was sort of one of the last remnants of the Wild West area. Like it only became a state in like 1904 or something.
Yeah.
Like it was one of the last places in America where you could still go and do this kind of really wild stuff and just get away with crimes because, you know, everyone's just in debt to everyone and everyone's in on it. There was no broader society to which you might ever be accountable in that sense. But this is him. The times have changed, and it's basically Hale's model crashing up against this sign of modernity, which is the deep state. But I didn't feel like that really came through. The fact that this is a whole new department of law enforcement we've never seen
doesn't
before.
come across in the film. It's just the feds are here now.
Yeah,
because it's just portrayed as the feds are here now. Washington is here now. Okay, you're a cop, cool. Because actually, up to this point, you do not know who the actual fucking sheriff is, and the fact that you're not shown that he doesn't give a fuck or he's in on it. You're not shown anything. Like no crimes are ever investigated at all.
I can't visualize the local police in the town. No. I'm sure they were in there.
I can visualize them because I can imagine what they might have looked like.
I can see the doctors. The doctors were a big part of it.
Met.
They were great. That was.
I mean, they were shit, but
that was a great part of the movie.
Well.
Yeah, they're sort of another incredibly macabre presence. But
the fact that they
and I kind of
searching for the bullet.
Yeah.
That whole explanation of what, and I'm like, what the fuck? And also when you look back then and realize that 80 people are just standing around watching, the sister is sitting there crying while they're quote unquote searching for the bullet in her body.
There are lots of flashbacks I didn't really understand.
Well, it wasn't even flashback. Like we just saw them do something, and then later on the detectives are like, hey, why did you do this?
Why did you slice her body into 1,000 pieces?
Why did you cut her into pieces?
Yeah.
And we were looking for the bullet. I'm like, yeah, but mate, we just saw like 45, well, an hour and a half ago in this film, 80 people were just there watching you do that. What the fuck?
Well, did they do that there, or did they do that back
They
at
did that at the creek.
Okay.
We got to see them like out of frame, I guess, but there was the coffin that she was laying in, and he was just hacking at it.
Wow. Yeah, well, yeah, the past was kind of fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know.
Famously.
Yeah, but
You may not be aware.
yeah, the flashback to the murder of Anna,
During
obviously,
the trial.
yeah, harrowing to look at. Don't know what point of that was. I'm like, well, yeah, that's
You
what
could have just said the words and we would have understood.
you've
it
just
as
all
much.
explained to us in extreme detail what happened.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we guessed would have happened based on everything that's occurred.
That
Why-
guy though being like, would it get me money if I killed my children? What the fuck?
That was a good bit. That was a good joke. Well, I'm not
gonna do it unless you say it's.
I'm not going to do it if it won't work. I'm just. That guy was great. That guy was very well cast.
He was very well cast.
He was very
A
unsettling.
lot of the secondary characters are so well cast.
Yeah, excellent, and yeah, excellent performances. I like one of the strengths for me is the little Sam Elliott guy.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, and I
And
thought
his family, you just get to see that he's got like 18 kids.
yeah, I thought
And
that
they're
was
all
a
like
good.
super young, but he's like 106.
Well, he's probably like 45.
Yeah, he fucks.
Yeah, he does. People fucked back then, but I thought
Something about history.
yeah, a little bit about it. There's a little bit of history for you. There's something about his characterization I liked, where it sort of showed, there's a lot of this is not like organized crime. It's like crimes are something that you'll do a little bit of on the side now and then. It's not like your main thing.
His whole like,
And he's like, I don't
guess
want-
I'll do it. I don't want to.
Yeah, he's like, but okay, but I need some money, and it's like it's not like a huge deal to shoot someone.
Yeah, like it's fine. I'll befriend this guy, and like
Yeah.
the little bit that montage where you get to see him hanging out.
Yeah,
You're like, okay, so he's not going to do it. They're just going to become friends. That's great.
Yeah.
No.
yeah, and then okay, and then we just sort of don't see that guy much more.
Until he gets
I got
arrested.
confused because the guy he shoots,
Yeah.
it's a big thing how Hale is trying to keep him alive because he has an insurance policy on him.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be now. It's the 6 months later.
Okay, but they
They
don't
explain that it's
they
been
don't
6
explain that, and I was just getting annoyed at this
But-
point. I'm like,
Because what confused me about it is we get a scene where Hal's like he needs to stay alive until next year until the insurance policy comes into play. He needs to do that. The next scene, you get Ernest going to this dude like, you need to kill this guy.
Yeah, it's
I
the
need you to
next
kill this
scene.
guy. And we're like,
There's
we're
no-
thinking, okay, so Ernest is clearly doing something against Hale at this point.
Yeah.
So something's going on. And then the next scene is like, yeah, I did what you told me to do. I got him to go kill him. So clearly it's been another 6 months, but we
Yeah.
don't get any sort of like notification about that.
there's no weather change.
No weather change.
You
don't get a winter.
How much time was the only hint I got at how much time had gone by was the kids.
Yeah, they have
I was
kids.
like, oh, there's a kid. So there was 1 3-year time jump, I guess. And then that's it. Everything else is sort of happening within a few weeks of each other, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other areas of tension, like I guess it's a very interesting and complex area of race and racism you're dealing with in this movie, because obviously there would have been tremendous dehumanization of Native Americans in all sorts of ways in American history. But now we're in a situation where they're still second-class citizens, to say the least, in a bunch of ways, with things like the guardianship of their money. But also the fact that these white men, multiple white men, while at least in some instances genuinely falling in love and marrying them, like, you would think even if it's for money, there are certain forms of racism where that marriage is not a tenable prospect
Yeah.
at all, isn't it interesting, and something that I don't think is really, like, they never talk about in this movie, the fact that William Hale is so verbally appreciative of and supportive of the Osage, can say nice things about them, is willing to have his family marry into an Osage family while still considering the murder of them to be so morally inconsequential that he would do it to at least 30 people and maybe many more.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't seem to really come up either.
No.
Like, does anyone else think it's weird that you're marrying Native American women during this time period?
I think like it's portrayed subtly as the people getting off the train all the time are looking at it weirdly.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of side glances for newcomers to town.
Like you might
white
expect
couples to be like, yeah.
Like you might expect Ernest to have social consequences for having married a Native American woman. You know, like people might be racist towards her, and he might become like more of a social outcast in town because people look down on the fact that he did that, or did they not? And if they don't,
That's also something that you
that's kind of anomalous, and something that I would just like to be brought out a bit more.
I think overall the film itself would be better if Molly and her family are the POV characters, and these white dudes are there and then revealed to be evil. Like it's the same. It is the same story, but because the film is about the killers of the Flower Moon, and it just shows some white dudes because it's about the white dudes. If the film was just about the actual family whose people are dying, it would mean more.
Yeah,
it'd be a better movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, Martin.
Yeah, sorry, Martin. I think
it would be a better movie.
Yeah,
and it would be scary, and there'd be actual reveals of
I think
things.
I think some in some ways people have sort of too simplistic an understanding of what's happening in the movie. Like I saw one very prominent reviewer who described what was happening in the movie as hate crimes, and I was like, these aren't hate crimes.
It's not hate crime.
They're crimes. These are murders of your family members to get their money.
Yeah.
Like this is a very different kind of awful thing. And like, this isn't, I don't know, it's hard. It's not as simple as an expression of racism.
Yeah, it's not a crime of
or
passion
expression
in any
of
way. They're crimes of like very, very deep manipulation of their world, so they can get everything. Like,
and part of the reason all of this could occur is because people gave less of a shit about murders when the victims were Native American.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then, isn't it weird how the FBI do turn up and justice seemingly is done to some degree, even though they were released from prison down the track? Like, how and why did that happen? I know they went to Washington.
That's the only reason.
Yeah,
They went to Washington, talked to the president, and
but
then
the president on screen doesn't give a shit.
No, we're not shown why they come.
So, did those FBI agents care? Like, did they maybe have a bit of motivation? Like, why have they turned up? How do they feel about it? There's just so much that's not in this 3.5 hour movie. It's all portentous staring.
It's like Blade Runner 2049.
It's a lot like Blade Runner 2049. That's our hot take on Killers of the Flower Moon.
And then
I will say the best.
Okay.
I think the best scene of the whole movie, apart from Brendan Fraser's, is there's the husband and wife that get blown up.
Yes.
First of all, at a certain point in the movie, I started thinking I'd missed their death scene, so I suddenly remembered them. I'm like, I haven't seen them for a while. They must be dead. And then they showed up again. His
first wife did die.
Yeah.
But she died of consumption.
But then they're like,
the wasting disease.
He's investigating the crimes. We better kill him. And then he just sort of fades away for an hour. And then they sort of remember about him. Like, oh yeah, we better fucking kill them as well.
I think we're supposed to think that they were planning it. The plan was in place, but it's not yet time.
Sure.
You got to wait.
Yeah,
Hale's got some insurance policies to put in.
Bill Smith.
Yeah.
It's Bill and Rita.
What a name.
Yeah. The best scene for me, like my favorite, one of the best bits is the scene between Ernest and Bill Smith.
In the house, yeah.
In the house.
Or the bit in the first funeral where he's like, Ernest, you should wait outside. Just tells him to leave his house.
Yeah, and that's sort of a beat that happens. But this suddenly we have a scene of two characters at odds, And you see Ernest finally just sort of like express it. Like Ernest is doing something. He's making a move that isn't just like a one-step move of doing something Bill told him to do. He's like, I don't like you very much. You know, and you're wondering where this scene is going to play out to. I didn't feel that in a lot of the other scenes.
It does. It doesn't happen much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we get to court.
We get to court.
And who should stand up into frame mid-scream than the one and only Brendan Fraser.
I saw it as like classified as a jump scare.
Yeah.
This film has one jump scare.
And it's Brendan Fraser standing up into frame, screaming at the judge. He's big, isn't he? In this, he's got
quite large,
he's got a bit of that whale weight going still.
He does,
which I think he has lost since.
Yes.
And yeah, I was starting to get pretty upset at how late into the film it was and Brendan hadn't turned up. I'm like, that's why I'm here. And he's in probably the last half an hour.
But like twice.
And
he's in the last half an hour twice, maybe.
Yeah. And there's twice where he does stuff. And he's Bill Hale's lawyer, essentially. And he screams objection to the judge and says, and basically is trying to say that Ernest is his client as well, even though Ernest is testifying against him. And so he just derails the day in court and turns it into a circus. And then they have sort of the backroom scene with Ernest, and he's like...
They have their intervention.
Yeah, they do an intervention on Ernest.
40 people. Not Hale, though.
Yeah.
Just all these other guys.
Well, Hale's in jail, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's to convince Ernest that the police beat the confession out of him. And all this is exactly what happened. What did you think of our boy's performance?
If everybody else was also being animated and less stoic, it would feel less jarring.
It stands out a lot.
It does stand out.
I liked it for that reason.
I love him. He's great. I like that he's just doing something different.
Yeah.
But because everybody else is not doing that,
yeah,
it feels quite jarring.
I think it's just because it's a character who has so little screen time. If we could just get introduced to this guy a little bit. Again, in the movie where it's the investigation and then the trial,
this character,
William Hale's lawyer is a bigger part of that.
Yeah. And
he can get... Yeah, I like his characterization of he's just going to steamroll through this situation and gain control. And he much more aggressively manipulates Ernest than William Hale does.
Hale, yeah.
And... yeah, I liked it. I like the bit where Ernest is in that room and all the intervention is there, and they're like a big tableau of people in this sort of heavily furnished room, and Brendan's just there on the edge of the group, like hands on the back of an armchair, just this hulking force, just glaring at him. Like he didn't even have any lines. Someone else is talking, but he dominated the screen.
He's just so cool. See, that is charismatic.
He has a lot of screen. It was so weird hearing his voice after watching all these like older movies. And like, yeah, that's still clearly him. But it's so distinctive. I think his voice sounds pretty much the same, to be honest. But just knowing so much better now where he's come from. Yeah, I think he could have been
best part of the film.
I think he could have been great as the FBI investigator.
If the movie was about the detectives, though, he would be perfect. Like, he'd be so cool as the lead detective.
Yeah. Or their FBI boss back in Washington, who sends them on the job and needs updates and stuff. And it's like, what are you talking about? See?
Like, it would be cool to have a film about a group of detectives being sent from Washington to somewhere that doesn't really have law.
Yeah.
And you have your Avengers detectives.
Yeah.
Just going out.
Well, and they are Avengers detectives because they're the invention of the FBI. So they're just taking the best detectives from different areas and be like, we're the police for everywhere.
That would be such a good movie.
Yeah.
Shame.
So yeah, it's great. It's great for Brendan that he's in this. And yeah, there isn't much else to say about his disappointingly small role, it has to be said. But he's back. He's back and he's in a Scorsese movie.
That means you made it. He made it.
I think
Because in a few years, they won't be able to be in a Scorsese movie anymore. Because Scorsese's quite old.
yeah. I mean, he's doing well though. He's fresh.
He looks younger than 117.
He is crisp. He could
He's well starched.
he could run for president. Yeah, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say about Killers of the Flower Moon. As always, I watch something like this and I'm like, yeah, I have some criticisms. I didn't love it. And then we get on here and just fucking tear it to shreds. Look, it's extremely well made in a bunch of obvious ways.
Yeah.
But I don't know much about those ways, so I don't really talk about them. Just talking about the story and how I experienced the story.
I think the most visually striking scene is them burning all of the basically crops around Hale's farm while the detectives are there, and they're just burning whole loads of shit.
Yeah.
And they're just watching from across the way.
That's for insurance, is it?
I think it's for insurance because he's taken an insurance policy against fire out.
Yeah.
And the banker is there. It's like,
Yeah.
I just gave him an insurance policy against fire.
I feel like sometimes...
And they're just watching it. That is a cool scene, and it's shot well, and it's just very
It is,
pretty.
yeah. But I mean...
But then also it drags on for about 10 minutes too long.
It drags on 10 minutes too long. I think sometimes people say like the cinematography in something is great or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just pointing out some things where they've just come up with ideas for stuff that like is going to look pretty good however you film it. Like a bunch of silhouetted people working in a field that's on fire. Yeah, it looks good.
It does.
Looks good. Like well done. But like the
cinematography of the Batman, does that stand out to you?
Yeah.
Because he did do a lot of very exciting things, like subtle stuff. Yeah.
There's times when
it makes sense.
When to the untrained eye it is apparent, but there's other times where I just feel like the cinematography gets alluded to in a way where there was just some cool stuff that got filmed.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
The scene where the guys are dancing in the oil spring in slow motion.
The opening scene.
Yeah, well, not very opening, but early on where they're dancing. Great stuff. But
weird way to open your film.
Well, it's very visually striking, but it just
oil in their mouths.
But it kind of feels like we're just sort of riffing.
There's a lot of it feels like riffing.
There's a lot of riffing.
Yeah. Just see what happens.
In that last, okay.
We're just gonna see what happens, okay?
I feel like it kind of feels like we've just written a bunch of stuff and we're like, oh, we'll find the film in the telling of it, and all you've done is just put everything in and been factually accurate. And we're like, there's the story. And we're like, this is a fucking slog, mate.
Yeah, it's long. It's too long.
It is very emotionally affecting in a bunch of instances.
The final scene.
Very good.
I think that's a great way to end this movie.
Can't argue with that. Yeah, rather than just do this, that's just like another way of doing the end credits of telling what happened to everyone.
Yeah, just
and
radio play 20 years later.
In a way that's sort of commenting on some of the origins of crime fiction, of true crime as well, like people enjoying a true crime story.
And I love that it shows how radio plays were made.
Yeah.
I'd love a movie
with an
about
audience.
That. So cool.
Yeah.
Just a really interesting way to end this movie. This specific movie.
Yeah. And then little Marty gives himself a little bit of screen time. Yeah, no, that was good. Very, very happy with that. Although I did also just feel like the characters themselves were sort of still unresolved.
Yep.
In that last scene where Molly goes in to talk to Ernest again.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I started counting the seconds between each line. I was just so ready to be done. And a lot of times it's like 10 seconds.
That's because they're pausing for dramatic effect.
Yeah, but like I've got no drama left in me, Martin. You have sucked me dry.
But even not, because there's not a lot of drama. There's a lot of bad things happening.
Yeah, I think we're confusing drama for bad stuff happening.
A lot of bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
But it's not dramatic. It's not dramatized.
There's
That explosion.
no tension.
The explosion of the house, and then the next day when he's driving back into town. Too much dynamite. That line is, like, haunting. Like, too much dynamite. They've just exploded this house.
Yeah.
Like, it... Fucking... It's crazy.
That, like, when Ernest walks over and looks at the house and is like, oh...
What's
I have
he
no
thinking?
idea what's
What
going
is he
through his
thinking?
mind. I'm like, do you
feel guilty right now?
you wish you hadn't blown up the house? Because you have participated in every step of this. You forced this to happen, and you forced it to happen now.
Yeah.
Are you acting? Like, I don't know are you like, the only explanation is that he's just thick as two short planks. And so is actually just not forming coherent thoughts or emotional reactions to what's going on around him. And maybe that's who he was, but that's a rough protagonist
It's a hard dude to get behind
for
your
a
film.
3.5-hour historical epic.
So long.
I don't know if I've mentioned how long this movie is.
Would you call it an epic?
Yeah, it's a historical epic because time goes by and there's famous actors in it. And there's a couple of scenes where they've clearly built quite a lot of a town.
Oh, okay.
And there's roadsters.
They have roadsters.
Remember at the
There's a race.
beginning where Ernest is like stopping to watch the road race? He's like, "Ooh, cars." That's the end of that. Never
doesn't
gives
come
a
back again.
fuck about cars any other time in the movie. But we just sort of add that in.
Like that he leaves her in the car. Like she's gotten in, they're ready to leave.
Yeah.
And then he
Or
just
sort of, like,
walks
stand-
away to watch the cars. And she's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Are you driving me somewhere? Or I thought we were courting. So yeah.
So that's Killers of the Flower Moon.
Do we rank this one?
Yes, we rank it.
Okay.
So we rank Brendan Fraser's movies from our most favourite to our least preferred. And this is obviously a very strange entry coming in here, as every other movie was made before 1996. Okay. All right. We've never been in this position before. This is new. Okay. Let's start about the middle.
Imagine if you did
Is-
like Ke Huy Kwan's filmography and then you just go from the 90s to last year.
Let me ask you something no one's ever asked anyone before, Isaac.
Uh-huh.
Is Killers of the Flower Moon better or worse than Encino Man? It's better than
It's
Encino
better.
Man.
You got to think about it.
But now here's the real question. In the army now. Let's
We are obliged to put it before.
I'm going to be bold and say Killers of the Flower Moon is better than any movie Pauly Shore. Better than the entire Pauly Shore output. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Shaw would agree.
Uh-huh.
Is this at the top of the list, despite everything?
What's currently first?
Presumed Guilty.
C.
See, it's going to overpower them all, isn't it?
It's just because of what it is.
Just because of what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's Leonardo DiCaprio and it's Robert De Niro and it's
It is not the
Lily-
best movie Brendan Fraser's ever been in.
Gladstone. It's,
It's not.
well, like, but of the ones on this list.
Of the ones on this list, I think so. I think it has to be.
It has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is such a weird thing to think about. Never had to, because everything else you're
Because
putting on there.
Presumed Guilty is good.
Presumed
But we
Guilty
know
is good.
we know that there are
Compared to
things.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah, this 1992 TV movie
Made for TV movie.
is good, but it's no Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Killers of the Flower Moon would be better because
It's not made for TV. Start with
It's
that.
not made for
It's not
TV.
made for TV.
it has better cinematography.
It does. It looks better. You
It
can
looks
actually
better.
see the faces of a lot of people in this film.
Yeah.
Whereas in a lot of that, it was hard to see their emotions.
It does probably have more emotional complexity.
I would say yes. Yeah. Yes. I would say yes. The Brendan of it, obviously not as good.
It's depicting a complex historical period
It is
with-
also a true story.
It's also a true story, so they're equal there.
Yeah.
It is depicting a complex historical period with a lot of detail and nuance, despite our criticisms.
Yeah.
So
Despite-
it's a more impressive artistic feat overall,
Yeah.
regardless.
It is currently first on the list.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Let's see how long that stays there.
Yeah, this will be interesting. Now, especially interesting. Of all the Brendans, which one would win in a fight?
It's so weird because he's a large lawyer.
This guy's a big guy. He's big, but he's a lawyer.
He's also old.
He's bigger, he's older.
Yeah. All the others are young, nimble, and like in most of their films actually have some sort of violence take place.
Yeah,
Where
true.
this is just a lawyer who defends people who kill people.
Yeah, so down the bottom, shall we say.
Yeah. But I do picture him, the fight beginning, and he just stands up and screams at somebody.
He has Banshee
have that Banshee
scream
power,
powers.
yes.
He has Banshee scream powers, and he can sue them.
Oh.
So
Yeah, but he'd be dead, so. Can't
okay,
sue if you're
I
dead.
feel like he would steamroller younger and younger. He'd just barrel into
Yeah.
him, and
The-
he'd
the-
knock him flying.
The less physically capable of the Brendans, I don't think they could take on such a burly, large lawyer if this burly, large man was attempting to fight.
Because he's intimidating.
He is
He's
intimidating,
an intimidating character. I think that
but just his heft.
the teenager from Child of Darkness is going to go flying.
The fists
Yeah,
upon this body
yeah.
will do more damage, despite their perhaps slower speed. Will do more
When they
physical
connect,
damage.
yeah. It's kind of like fighting the Penguin. Or
Well,
that middle boss from John Wick 4.
the larger dude.
Who's actually turns out to be really strong. Yeah, that one. With honors.
With honors. Yep, beating him.
Beating
He's
him.
just a high school dude. He's just in college.
Okay, dogfight. More like dog shit.
I'm gonna say beating him because that guy
Really?
loses that fight in that film. We're not shown it, but we know he loses.
Yeah, because I feel like this big lawyer fella, I feel like in dogfight, I feel like if you land a punch, it's like he wouldn't even move.
This
You know?
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, if Dogfight landed a punch, he wouldn't even move.
Airheads, I think, would beat him. Airheads is energetic. He's got a guitar.
I know in the army
He's
now
just
would beat
gonna.
him. I know
In the army now,
Lincoln
second from the
Young-
top.
Yeah, he'd definitely beat him. So
We're
I think
nowhere near
Airheads
there.
could beat him, actually.
Yeah,
Does he have... Yeah, because he's
because
got a
then
guitar.
it's now and then, and that guy went to Vietnam.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon is 11th on the list. Of which of the Brendans would win in a fight? Currently topped by Darkly Noon.
One day we have to sit down and discuss this list for Daniel.
But revisit the list.
Well, discuss which of the Daniels would win in a fight.
True, actually,
We didn't do that. We did
no,
that for
I mean,
Brenton.
you know who's winning, but in the lower
we know
tiers,
who wins.
I'd have to
the
rewatch
fight.
some of those older movies, though.
No, you wouldn't. Just go from just
I don't
the way,
remember
the way
shit
that,
about
the way that
them.
our list and just go with the title and be like, oh yeah, that was that, and just have to make that. Just look at the poster of the film and be like, oh, we did force ourselves to watch that.
Who would win in a fight between the layer cake guy and Lord Asriel? This is content. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. This was a little bit of something different, and I enjoyed it.
Not the film, but this episode, yes.
I didn't really enjoy the film, sad to say.
It is sad to say.
But
It's weird when you watch something and you're like, this would have been better as a detective drama.
yeah, it just sucks when you know, there's movies that you think, oh yeah, that'll be good. Looking forward to that one. Surely that'll be good, and then it's just
And like if it was just True
black.
Detective.
It's
But
yeah, it needs to be more True Detective. We're doing a lot of bro responses here. Should be more like True Detective. Everything should be more like True Detective and should be a miniseries. I mean,
this
This
has
should-
the content and the length to be a miniseries.
there should definitely have been a miniseries because then episode 4, you can just reset and do it from the FBI's POV.
Oh my god, yes. Also, from episode 4, Brendan Fraser's in it. We'd only have to watch the last episode.
Also that.
Yeah, the last hour-long episode.
You do a few self-contained episodes about the drama of living in the town, the early 20s, and then it's a couple of years later.
Yeah, all these
and
people are dying.
the FBI is coming to town, and then you do a whole procedural as a whole separate story. That's what it should have. That's what it should have been. Yeah. But that is our feedback on everything. Join us next time when we are watching Brain Candy.
Nice.
You know what that is?
Candy for the Brain.
It is
1996's or 7.
God, I don't think it even has a Wikipedia page, which is
It's about to.
quite concerned.
We're going to do that.
Oh no! Oh, okay.
Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy. It's an uncredited cameo.
So, tune in next time when we watch Not That. What's after it on the list?
Oh, this looks fucked.
But what's after it on the list?
This looks
What's after it on the list, though?
so bad. Oh no. Starring the Canadian comedy troupe The Kids in the Hall. It followed the 5-season run of their television series. Oh no. No. Controversy section. The movie received negative feedback due to the cancer boy character. Oh, fuck. Okay.
Okay.
I think we have to... We're here now. After that, it's Mrs. Winterbourne, which sounds like a real film. Yeah, that's
Well,
a romantic comedy drama where he's on the front, where he's on the cover of the DVD.
Okay. What if next episode is a 2-thing episode?
A 2-thing.
Yeah, where we watch Mrs. Winterbourne.
We can't do 2 things.
What if we watch Mrs. Winterbourne and mention Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy?
You want to like watch them both and then...
I want to watch them both and talk about Mrs. Winterbourne.
We can't
We can.
We can't leave it in... Hey,
We'd still see it.
we watched 3.5 hours of this for 5 seconds of Brendan.
We'd still see it. But we
No.
don't have to punish ourselves.
Let's think about it.
Okay.
Let's think about it. Join us next time where you will find out what we decided to do.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
Thank you for coming. And Leonardo DiCaprio, just be handsome again, please.
Yeah, mate.
Just be normal, handsome guy. Stop trying to do all this different acting. You know?
I mean, dude, the acting.
But do like Brad Pitt acting,
Yeah.
you know? Where like it's still Brad Pitt, we're still having fun.
And like once every 3 years at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's everything, isn't it?